Bond. James Bond.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Did we just become best friends?
Yup! Sublime!
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Tear me apart, Lisa!
But mostly I hate the way I don't hate you. Not even close. Not even a little bit. Not even at all.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Hi, friends, and welcome to another episode of You Haven't Seen That, a movie discussion podcast where we introduce our friend Ben to movies he should have seen a long time ago. I'm your host, Amanda.
I'm Geoff.
And I'm Ben.
And today we are discussing The Graduate. Psych! For all of those of you who listen to us regularly, you may have heard us end our last episode teasing that we would be watching The Graduate. And we had a slight change of plans. So I do apologize if you actually watched The Graduate to prepare and listen to this with us.
We got a very similar movie, though, ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. So we will be watching The Graduate next week. So your pre-watching was not in vain. You'll just have to remember. But today, equally as exciting and very similar, we're doing How to Train Your Dragon in celebration of the live action version of How to Train Your Dragon releasing in theaters this weekend.
There we go. How to Train Your Dragon. Directed by Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlois. This is our second movie of theirs that we've watched in less than 2 months. Shout out Lilo and Stitch. So, which is insane. Crazy to think about. How to Train Your Dragon, released in March of 2010. This came out right at the end of March. If we think back, the number one song in the country at this time was Rude Boy by Rihanna. Sparking back some memories there. The Saints had recently beaten the Colts in the Super Bowl just about a month or so ago. And then The Hurt Locker had recently beaten Avatar for Best Picture at the Oscars. A little matrimonial drama, or ex-matrimonial drama there between Catherine Bigelow and James Cameron. This movie features the voices of an amazingly stacked cast: Jay Baruchel, Gerard Butler, Craig Ferguson, America Ferrera, Jonah Hill, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, TJ Miller, and Kristen Wiig. Whew. With a $165 million budget, this movie grossed $495 million at the box office. It was a massive hit. This did debut at number one at the box office the weekend it came out, dethroning Alice in Wonderland, the live-action remake of Alice in Wonderland, which was number one for 3 straight weeks. Speaking of live-action remakes.
Speaking of not a good movie.
Oh, yeah. There you go. This movie was adored by critics and audiences alike. 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, an A cinema score, a massive hit, both critically and commercially. This was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, Best Animated Picture and Best Original Score. It lost both, sadly, to Toy Story 3 and The Social Network, respectively.
I respect those choices.
Yeah, I get it. You know, Social Network was a great animated feature. And
I guess I don't really think back to the score of Social Network, but I definitely respect Toy Story 3.
I think, oh yeah, for sure. And I think the thing with The Social Network was it was the Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross big deal. Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails fame coming in and doing this creepy, mysterious score for a David Fincher movie. It was one of those like awardsy, like, oh, it got all the momentum. So looking back, it's an incredible score. But How to Train Your Dragon was nominated. Inception was nominated this year. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, Inception was also nominated for score.
It was. And no, it was nominated for animated feature.
Such a stacked animated feature.
It's incredible.
It's incredibly
stacked.
We're even putting in non-animated features.
You haven't seen the animated version of Inception? It's crazy.
Crazy.
Oh. So, Geoff, tell us your history with How to Train Your Dragon, the animated version.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I was about to say the live action version. I've got zero history. Haven't seen it yet. I don't think I'll have even seen it by the time this episode comes out in a few days. But March 2010, I was 18. I was a senior in high school, and I definitely was not watching this movie in theaters. I think I might have was probably too cool, quote unquote, but definitely caught it afterwards. Definitely had seen it. It had bits and pieces for a while, and then all at once eventually, probably, I don't even know how many years ago at this point. So definitely a movie that has stuck in my brain for the longest time. And yeah, I've revisited moments. The score is featured in my sort of, I have a playlist on Spotify of some of my favorite film scores and favorite songs from film scores that I listen to when I need to really work on some projects and can't get disturbed by anything. And a number of the songs from the score are featured in that.
And what about you, Ben?
Um, well, first of all, I don't like that Geoff was a senior in high school because in March 2010 I had graduated college just a couple months prior in December of 2009. Um, anyway, How to Train Your Dragon is I don't think you teased what we're doing at the end, did you, Amanda?
No, I
We're,
didn't.
well,
I got too
I'm gonna
excited
I'm going to
about
relate it to
I got
this.
too excited about the graduate and how we totally messed up our schedule. Yeah, well, at the end, we're gonna do our top four favorite non-Disney animated movies. So I'll just tee that up for you.
Yeah, so along those lines, when I was making that list, I was like, my goodness, like I was seeing just like there are just between like when I was a child watching Disney movies and when I was an adult watching Disney movies. There was like a long stretch of time where I felt like a lot of animated movies came out, like entire trilogies or quadrilogies, and I just didn't see any of them. So and they all like run like you could not like I'm pretty good about dates, but I can't tell you like when these movies came out. So like this franchise, Kung Fu Panda, Ice Age,
Mm.
Despicable Me, like I've not seen any of them of any of them. And so I feel like I put them all kind of in the same category of like these not just movies, but entire series of movies that I have not seen, and they all kind of run together in my head, and I don't really know how to differentiate which ones are really good, which ones are not so good.
Right.
They
Mhm.
all just kind of run together because they were like I wasn't, you know, like now I feel like both as a parent and just as a an adult who cares less about what it feels like to watch a cartoon, I would go see a children's movie if I was interested in it.
Mhm.
Um, but like when you're, 20 or 17 or 23 or whenever these movies came out, all of them came out in that 2005 to 2015 range. I feel like I was not about that life. So so I didn't see any of them. I did see some of the Pixar Disney movies that came out in that stretch. That was really it. And I was realizing how difficult that list was at the end for me because of that. So to make a long story short, I didn't know much about this movie. It and its sequels came and went without me making much of a awareness of it.
All right, that's fair.
I mean, I knew they came out. I just didn't know anything really.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
I mean, how could you not know that they
Yeah.
came
I
out?
mean, and that's, I teach third and fourth grade. And so I hear about these movies a lot
Hmm.
Mhm.
from children over the years, this and the other ones I mentioned. But again, I couldn't give you really a plot of any of them besides the real basic. Like, I think the plot I could tell you for How to Train Your Dragon is the title. Tells me a lot about what the plot is, and
You
that's
nailed it. You nailed
Pretty
it.
self-explanatory.
It's just like one of those things too that where I'm sorry, just like I'm like going on and on, but it's like one of those things where like I'm sure I sat through hundreds of commercials for this movie,
Hmm.
and
Mhm.
yet I just like tuned it out because I wasn't interested. And it's nothing against this movie, it's just where I was. I just wasn't going to give the time of day to any of these animated features.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done.
Well, and I think that's a fair point too, of like just not knowing if they're good or not, right? Because animated kids movies can be very much in extremes, really, really great or really terrible. And I feel like if they're not Disney, you don't have that kind of assurance that it's going to be at least like at some level of quality.
Yes, yes.
And so it definitely can be a bigger risk if you're not like aware of, what's going on. So, Totally understandable. I would say I was very into this movie when it came out, even though I was, only a year older than Jeff. I saw it. I think I saw it multiple times. I worked at Walmart at the time. And Ben, this was, I think, right around when we met, when we first became friends.
A little before,
Um,
but yeah.
yeah, sometime around there. Um, and yeah, I worked at Walmart and I remember we had a big cutout like cardboard display of Toothless and Hiccup, and you could get your picture taken with it and we would print it out for you because I worked in the photo lab.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I only remember that because I posted about it on Facebook and it comes up in my memories every year. Being like, hey, everybody, come get your picture taken. I'm bored and I want to take your picture. So yeah, that's my history. I'm just gonna go ahead and give my score since I feel like it's probably fairly obvious, saying that I've seen it multiple times, but I have seen it many, many times, and I think this is a darn near perfect animated movie, and I'm giving it a 4.75. What about you, Ben?
I enjoyed it. I did. It's not really my genre, being all fantasy like. Um, Anything that has a dragon in it, I'm a little predestined to be a little about.
Vikings were real, Ben.
Yeah, Vikings were real.
I'm sorry, this is like a documentary of this movie.
Burke is an actual place, and this is an actual thing. It's very
But
grounded.
I did enjoy it. I thought it was sweet. I'm gonna give it a 4.
Woohoo.
I
What about
love
you,
it.
Jeff?
4.5 for me. I loved this movie the first time I saw it. I loved this movie the second time I saw it, and every other time I've seen it since. It's very comfortable. It's a movie that even in it's kind of like with Lilo and Stitch, where yes, there's an incredibly powerful, cute creature in the middle of this movie that you just can't take your eyes off of, but the movie is so much more than that. It is so much more than that in its story and its theming and everything. And especially with the voice performances, unreal. Like I said, the cast at the beginning is great. Yeah, I love this movie.
Yeah. So much to say, but I think we should start with
I feel like you should start, Amanda, since this movie is near and dear to your heart.
I was gonna say, I feel like we should talk about the best part of the movie, which is Toothless. And just jump right in and talk about how cute he is.
He's the best.
Seriously, he is the best. He's the cutest.
Think he's cuter than Stitch?
1,000%. So much cuter. It's like they took all the best qualities of like every animal they could think of and gave it to Toothless. I think one of the things that I noticed for the first time this time around is that his little like ears and his little pokey things that come up on the top of his head, he kind of looks like an axolotl, which I had never really noticed before. And I was like, I wonder if he's supposed to kind of resemble one. So there's that. At one point, he's sleeping upside down like a bat, which is just random and funny. I don't think dragons sleep like that.
Have you seen that in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, he's got great qualities of cats and dogs, which is, I think mostly what he embodies. But he's just so darn cute. His eyes are so cute.
His eyes are very expressive.
Incredibly expressive. They tell so much of a story.
Yeah. I feel like they have to be with how because the rest of him is really just like black. Like just like scales and different like shades of black. So I feel like they really have to be, but they did an incredible job animating him. And he looks promising in the live action version.
And they just made a carbon copy. And you know what? I'm cool with it. It's fine. Don't try to Lion King live action remake Toothless, please.
Well, thankfully he doesn't talk. So
That's true. Touche. I meant more in the sense of, hey, yes, those are lions or whatever, and let's make them look like cats and then lose all of the emotion and all of the expression by making them actual real life cats in the Lion King.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there are no real dragons that we know of, so whatever. But
Hear about that?
I don't know. But yeah, they just like, you know what? Yes, we'll make everything else real, but the dragons we will keep true to the original source material. So you know what? I like it. Yeah. I like all of the dragons. I think all of the animations of the dragons were really cool. I like that they all had different abilities and traits and were also, you know, kind of, you could tell they were all of like the same sort of, I guess, genus. I don't know if you want to call it that, like family of creatures in terms of like similar habits and ways that Hiccup is able to figure them out and solve them. And I think they're all really well designed and go along really well with the human characters in the movie. And yeah, all the dragons are really, really cool.
The animation was very impressive in general, I think. And I mean, this movie's now 15 years old. It still looks really good.
It does still
Hmm.
look really good. When I think back to like animated movies, and of course I'm just thinking of DreamWorks movies, but when I look back at like Shrek, now granted Shrek also came out like well before this movie, and how poorly it's aged in 25 years. Heck, you could make the case that in 15 years later, if you rewatched it in 2015, it's like it doesn't look great. It's not to say I don't like Shrek. More on that later. But the animation style is not impressive at all. It looks cheap. But How to Train Your Dragon, like I was looking at and reading the budget for the live action remake, I believe, is less than the budget for this original
Oh,
movie,
wow.
which is crazy. And I mean, it looks it on screen because, like you said, Ben, the animation is incredible.
Yeah.
It was also really effective in terms of like its transition shots as well. I've noticed a lot of like really effective editing within the movie in terms of cutting in between scenes, carrying scenes over from, say, the training sequences to going out into the woods to back to the training sequences, from going to night to day, and being able to connect the story, really making effective use of the fact that this is an animated movie and you can get away with things like that more easily. It's
Hmm.
awesome.
You know,
Yeah.
speaking of the training sequences, it's interesting because when I obviously this was the first time I was watching it, and I was like, boy, we're doing a lot of training sequences. Like, when are they going to get to more of the plot? And then they got to it, and I was like, oh, but I kind of miss the training sequences. I think if I were to rewatch it, I think I'd appreciate those more because I feel like that's really the heart of the movie, and the plot is more just kind of a mechanism. But I think, I mean, it's called How to Train Your Dragon, but I think that's really where that's what their story is more than you kind of know, like you can kind of predict, like it's not like Toothless is gonna die, it's not like anything like that, and you can kind of predict where it's gonna go. So I think I would appreciate the ride a little more, um instead of worrying about the destination if I were to rewatch it.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, they obviously put like so much thought and work into coming up with all these different kinds of dragons, what they can do, what their weaknesses are, like just all these different things. And it's so clear how much like thought they put into that I think it's really interesting watching them like learn how to fight them, even though that's not what they ultimately end up doing. Um, but I really enjoy the training sequences as well. Also, going back to the animation, I just need to say it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. But like the flying scenes with the score and the animation, it's just like one of those things that just gives you goosebumps and you're just like, "Oh, this is so good."
It was giving me a lot of A Whole New World vibes.
It is. That's a great comparison.
That's fair.
Not maybe
But
not as romantic, but maybe
yeah.
it's.
Um, the that first like the big training montage. I mean, I know they had a couple of training things, but like the big one, like it was so nice that there was no talking throughout all of it. Like I just loved that they, just fully committed to it. And I think in general, like this movie I felt like doesn't have as much humor as say like a Pixar or Disney movie. Like it's got some,
Hmm.
but and I think sometimes like maybe if I was in charge, I would have maybe made some of the other side characters a little goofier in some ways. I think I would have enjoyed that, but I think the center relationship, was strengthened partly because of that. That they weren't trying to like, oh, they're going to do a training exercise and then there's going to be something really goofy or silly that happens. They're going to talk about. It was just very like moving the way it was put together.
Oh, absolutely. It adds a lot more power to the Hiccup and Stoic and the Hiccup and Astrid relationships. And yes, while the characters are given, I think if you made them more goofy, the ending sequence when they're all flying around to distract the big dragon so that Hiccup and Astrid can get to Toothless and free him and take him down, it wouldn't hit as hard. It'd be like, oh my gosh, they're just doing this. And yeah, they're goofy, but also it's like they're still semi competent throughout the movie. It's not like they're completely useless. They kind of know what they're doing. They're at least handling their own. So yeah, you're right, Ben. I think it works out nicely that it's told the way that it is. It's actually funny you brought that up because so I was going through some reviews of this movie. One of them that stuck out and was surfaced on the Wikipedia page said this one critic, Roger Moore of the Orlando Sentinel, said that the film's inclusion of more dramatic subject matter instead of more comedic themes was a detriment of the film. To which I say, no, you're wrong.
I think, yeah, I mean, like I said, I think I agree with that for the center relationship, but I do think some of the, I don't know. I think I would have made some of the other non-main characters funnier.
Okay, fair enough. That's fair enough. I think they did I liked the supporting characters. It's one of those where when the movie was coming back around, I will be honest, I didn't remember many of their names. So it was nice to kind of get the refresher
And some
as
are
it came in.
Scottish and some are not.
Some are Scottish, some are not. We have a lot of questions about lineage. We've got a few Scots, some Americans, some Canadians. We don't know what's going on in this melting pot of Burke somewhere.
You're either very
Iceland.
Scottish or you're very not. There is no in between.
I know, and it's funny too because Gerard Butler, I think, is the only person from this cast that is back in the live action movie, and I don't think you could cast anybody else. If you casted anybody else, it'd be like, what? No, it just doesn't sound right. It doesn't make sense. His voice is so distinct. The impact of his tone is so distinct through every movie he's ever been in. So it's like, yeah, you have to recast him for sure. And yes, you could probably find ways to get around, maybe not including like a Craig Ferguson, for example. I don't even know who they've cast in the roles in the live action remake, but yeah, it's very funny listening to all of them talk and the very different accents, which is hilarious. Also knowing who plays Hiccup's mom, which is revealed in How to Train Your Dragon 2. His mom is, I won't spoil it for Ben, but his mom is Australian. So it's like, weird.
Nicole Kidman?
Kate Blanchett.
Okay.
Close enough.
I couldn't remember either. Nicole Kidman was my first guess.
I did feel like, what's the character's name? Astrid.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of a thankless role.
Yeah.
I don't know if she gets beefed up in the other movies, but I felt like she was kind of like, I don't know, like they didn't quite know what to do with it. And then being like the only female character, I felt like made it even a little more glaring that they didn't quite know what to do with her.
She's not the only female.
Well, sorry, one of like the only main female character.
One of the twins is a girl.
Okay, fine. Yes. I don't think of them
Wait,
as
which
like,
one? Rough Nut. Rough Nut.
I don't think
girl.
I don't think of them as super important to the plot.
No, touche.
I apologize if you disagree.
All right, fine.
No, that's fair. I think your criticism is fair there, Ben. I think it is a case where because she is not a priority of the story and almost like the outsider's perspective into the relationship between Hiccup and Toothless, yeah, it is kind of a.
And I'm not trying to be one of those like you know,
Mm-hmm.
making some sort of statement about it. I'm just saying, like, they like kind of shoehorned in the love thing at the end of it. She's supposed to be this tough, Viking girl, but then like when he is fighting, she's like on the ground being like, "Go," like, and I'm like, I don't feel like this character was that well developed.
I don't know. The power of taking someone flying on the back of a dragon maybe swept her off her feet, a la Jasmine in A Whole New
That's what I
World.
was gonna say.
There you go.
Just take someone flying. That's all you have to do.
All you got to do. I mean, listen.
Hop on a Southwest flight. It'll work.
There's got to be like a YouTube video that plays that montage to A Whole New World.
I'm sure. I will say it was interesting watching this from the perspective of being like an older adult than I was the last time I saw it, when Astrid was talking about how like their parents' war is about to become their war, and she's like telling him to pick a side. It just felt very timely in, where we are, because it feels like even though their war is like a very more like real war, they're like, dragons are attacking us, whatever. I feel like that's kind of how like parents are these days, right? Like they're like social wars almost, where they're like, you have to like pass on the torch, like keep, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, that definitely struck me this time around.
And it made sense that it was paired with Vikings, this class of family that stayed in the same place for so long, despite, as it says at the end of the movie, it snows 9 months of the year and hails the other three, even though we don't see any snow or hail throughout the movie, which you called out, Amanda. Or you're constantly attacked by dragons and your livestock and your source of food is constantly being depleted. So what are you going to do there? They're just very by the book. It's like, hey, it's always been this way. It's got to always be this way. They're very adverse to change. I mean, there's so many themes throughout the movie around not understanding or not changing your ways, everything like that. Not just in the Growth of Hiccup, but even in how they describe like the Night Rider. They bring up the Night Fury. Sorry, I say Night Rider. The Night Fury. They describe essentially Toothless as the unholy fusion of lightning and death itself. Yet when Hiccup meets Toothless, like Hiccup realizes like Toothless is a smart creature and like is willing to show mercy, and it again all takes understanding and listening and being open to other perspectives and being willing to change and listen, and all.
And you know
themes
why
that
they
we need here.
didn't? Because the Vikings suck. They are a bad football team.
Okay, Packers fan.
Who don't deserve happiness.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I'm a Packers fan for those of you listening. And despite the Vikings being the colors of my college, they are no friends of mine.
That's fair.
You're like, I hope the dragons wipe you out.
Go Dragons, go.
Just be grateful that they did not fulfill the Brett Favre prophecy with Aaron Rodgers.
That is true.
It was close.
Although I at this point I would have probably laughed at them if they did.
That's fair. That's true. Probably have you rather face him than JJ McCarthy or whoever.
I assume you two have seen. It's a trilogy, right? Before the live action, there's 3 of them total.
Yes, I should have included that in the beginning, but yes, this was followed up with a short TV show, 2 sequels, and yeah.
How do you feel about the other 2 movies, without giving spoilers?
Yeah. So, How to Train Your Dragon 2 was actually one of the first movies Amanda and I saw together. We saw it on a date, and I don't remember liking it a ton.
You guys are making out the whole time.
Oh yeah, totally.
I don't even remember seeing it together.
We did see it. Oh my gosh. We did see it together.
So special for you, man.
It hurts my feelings. No, we saw it together.
It's because Geoff was trying to put his arm around Amanda, and I was like, shit, I want to watch the movie. I love this series.
I can picture it now. No, we saw it. We definitely saw it in theaters. I think we saw it near. I want to say it was one of the theaters near the McKinley Mall. I somehow remember that weird detail, but I don't remember liking the movie a ton, but I know I owe it a rewatch. And then I know for me personally, I really liked the third. The third got me. I'm pretty sure I teared up in the theater, or at least got close to it. There's a very, very good scene with Toothless that I always think back to and quote, not quote because Toothless can't talk, but there's a very wonderful scene specifically in the third one when he's trying to attract another dragon, and he does like a little dance or whatever. It's pretty great.
It's kind of like the scene where he's like drawing Hiccup and he keeps like looking at him and like turning his head, and then he's like and like makes it die or whatever. It's like obviously he doesn't do that same thing, but it's just a very cute moment like that. For me, I know I've seen them, but that's about it. I've seen each of them once. I don't really recall liking them or disliking them, so they were probably pretty meh. So in my eyes, really, it's only this first one that exists in this universe. Geoff was trying to talk to me about um, what are the white ones called?
I was about to say Light Fury, but I don't think that's
Mm,
correct.
is it a light fury? Okay, yeah. So there's like white ones in like I don't know if it's in the second or third one. We were just talking about them the other day, and I was like, yeah, I don't really acknowledge their existence. I refuse to believe that anything past the first movie's events actually have happened.
It is in fact a Light Fury.
Oh, there you
Okay,
go.
makes sense.
Makes sense.
White, like the light.
I also definitely didn't know until I was reading about this after that it was a book.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
It's not one I remember being like a thing, but
Mm-mm. Yeah, I don't remember that. So I will say one thing that I forgot rewatching this movie is I forgot that Hiccup shoots down Toothless at the beginning of the movie. Or like I know he shoots him down, but I think I forgot that like Hiccup is the reason that Toothless can't fly anymore. Because he like messed up his tail. And for some reason that like very much upset me this time around. Because like just seeing Toothless trying to fly away, and then, obviously Hiccup hooks him up with like a cool new tail, whatever. But just the thought, knowing that Toothless can never fly again without having a person on his back. And like, again, I don't remember if they came up with like new technology in the second or third movie so that like maybe Hiccup doesn't have to ride him. But again, those don't exist to me. In this universe, like that's so sad that Toothless can never fly again as like a free dragon. Like he always has to have someone controlling him. And yes, I know they have a very sweet relationship and they get along and blah, 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 and all of that. But that is why I was actually very happy at the end of the movie when Hiccup loses part of his leg because I think he deserves it.
karma.
Oh no.
I think he deserved it.
I like that they didn't show anything about that either until he woke up the next day and all you see is the peg leg. You don't see him as his mangled body and Toothless's wings, or at least the bottom half of his mangled body or anything. It's like, oh, surprise.
Yep. He protected him. He hugged him. Got his wings around him. It was very sweet.
This was a movie I wrote down so many quotes. There were just so many little lines that were said throughout this movie that just either made me like sit and be like, wow, that was really, really good, or made me really chuckle a lot. I think the one, as I'm going through my notes here, the one that I think gave me anything with like Stoic and Hiccup together, especially when Stoic realizes that like Hiccup can now control dragons or best dragons, when he says the line, quote, with you doing so well in the ring, we finally have something to talk about. It made me laugh very, very hard. I was like, that's such a dad. thing to say.
I like when he gives him his mom's boob hat.
A really awkward helmet. Yeah, here's part of the breastplate.
Yeah, but I think Hiccup literally called it a boob hat, which made me giggle. I thought that maybe, again, from a more of an adult perspective, I was curious if I was going to side more with Stoic, like upon rewatch, like, oh, maybe he was right or whatever. And like, yes and no. Because I feel like initially when Stoic forces Hiccup to go to the dragon training, like, I kind of agree with him. Hiccup was so insistent on like wanting to get out there and wanting to like kill dragons and learn how to train dragons and all this. And then like he just instantly changed his mind. But like I could see from Stoic's perspective being like, oh, he's just, like scared now because I actually said he could do it and I want him to do it, whatever. So
It's a
like,
sign of aging when you start to relate to the parents of the movie, Amanda.
yeah, I know,
Yeah,
I
right?
know.
We're
But I will
old.
say, I think that's where my like siding with him ended because all the rest of the movie, he really is just being very like strong-headed and not listening. And
Yeah.
there's no need for that. But he learned, he grew, he had a moment, he self-reflected. So I
Know
think
better,
we're
do
okay.
better, right,
Yeah,
Stoic?
we're on a new journey. We're on a new journey. Gerard Butler's going to make the same mistakes in the live action movie because he has to. But at the end, he'll learn again.
He'll learn again.
We'll go to therapy. We'll do a little self care. It'll be great.
Oh my gosh. His beard is magnificent. Stoic's beard is magnificent in this movie. Just have to say
I
that.
I also wonder, I mean, none of us, this was not, a movie we saw as children. I mean, I know Jeff was in high school, but
I was 18, Ben.
but but I think well, so I watched a little bit of this with my son who was obsessed with Lilo and Stitch when we watched that a few weeks
Yeah.
ago. So
Mhm.
I watched a little, and he was not interested. Now he's only 2, but it made me wonder, like, um, I wonder if this is an animated film that in general plays better for adults than kids.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Because I feel like I mean, there's the dragon part and that's exciting and stuff, but I think it doesn't quite have the colorfulness and goofiness of so many of the most popular children's movies. It feels to me it's like the ones, maybe not that it doesn't have its fans, but that the ones who enjoy it the most or might put it in their top tier would be people like you guys who saw it, when you were young adults or older teens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I could see like older kids enjoying it. Like, I agree. I don't think like young kids would probably be super enamored with this, but maybe people who are kids who are like 10 and up, maybe.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
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 People
I
that
don't know.
can, kids that can emotionally resonate with certain themes in the story and also love Toothless for the sake that it's a cuddly dragon. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
when I was looking at the top 10 movies in the US in 2010. 5 of the top 10 were animated movies. And it is interesting to see kind of what was out around this time, like from an animated or quote unquote kids movie perspective. Toy Story 3 was the #1 movie of the year, just in general, not just animated. And then the other animated movies were 7, 8, 9, 10. Despicable Me, which gave us shots of the Minions. Shrek Forever After, or Shrek 4? Yeah, Shrek 4. How to Train Your Dragon, and Tangled. So, interestingly enough, yeah, you see, Toy Story 3 obviously resonate with every kind of middle school, high school kid that I know. And then the 2 other movies, Despicable Me and Shrek Forever After. Shrek Forever After, also a DreamWorks movie.
It's
And
interesting that 2 of those were the 4th installment of very successful franchises, and the other 3 started. Well, no, sorry, two of them started
Hmm.
successful franchises, and then
Yeah,
Tangled, I feel like, has held on, as a
Oh
cultural
yeah.
reference for sure.
for sure.
So that's quite a, why you got to start new franchises though. Like, look at that, it can't all be
Hmm.
sequels and stuff.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive, 2010, baby.
Good year. Good
Was a good
year.
year.
It was a good year.
I was just looking at the cast for the live action and saw that a couple actors I know from TV are involved. I mean, Gerard Butler's playing Stoic again, but uh Nick Frost is playing Gobber. I like him
Oh,
on some things. And then Nico Parker is Astrid, who was Joel's daughter in the first episode of The Last of Us.
no kidding. All
Yeah, I
right.
thought she was very good in that.
She was very good. She
Okay.
didn't last very long, but she was very
No.
good.
Spoilies.
It's the
Sorry.
first episode.
It
It's
is
all
the.
right.
Oh, and Hiccup's best friend, Fishlegs Ingerman, is played by Julian Dennison, who I recognize from Deadpool 2 and a couple other movies and things. He's the New Zealand kid who shoots like fire and stuff, Amanda, in Deadpool 2.
Oh,
Kind of
yeah.
kind of annoying kid.
That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense. I also wanted to add that if anyone out there who's listening is really into How to Train Your Dragon, whether it's just this movie or the whole franchise or whatever, y'all know as a Disney Universal person, travel agent, I gotta plug it when I can. So hashtag not an ad, but Universal's Epic Universe, which is their brand new theme park, just opened at the end of May, and it does feature an entire world dedicated to How to Train Your Dragon.
And it looks sick.
It does. We have Hiccup's Wing Gliders, which is a thrill roller coaster ride. We've got the unattainable, no, unattainable, the untainable drag. No, why did I say it wrong again?
We're keeping this.
The untrainable dragon. Got a little play on words there, which is a show and apparently has some insane puppetry. And you actually get to see Hiccup fly toothless over the audience, which is, I can't wait to see it.
The unattainable dragon was my nickname in high school.
Ew. No.
Now you have to leave your mess up and keep my joke in.
No. Oh my goodness. There's another thrill ride, Dragon Racers Rally, which looks like a cool like flying type thing. There's a water ride, which is like an arcade game and a water ride all in one, where you're like on a Viking boat and you have to spray targets. And then there's also a little Viking training camp for all the little kids.
Oh, that's cool.
But it really looks beautiful, all the detail that they put into it. Obviously the score is playing like everywhere, so you're
Yeah.
just gonna be crying like
Maybe I could see that being just really nice walking around a park and just hearing that score.
Oh, 1,000%.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. The only downside, it would appear, again, I have not been there, but the only downside is that it doesn't look like there's much shade.
No.
Really anywhere in Epic Universe. But How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk looks to particularly suffer from this non-shaded conundrum.
Well, you can't just have your modern day amenities when you're living in Vikings times, Amanda.
Guess not. I will say, Amanda, you did miss one of the most important things about that land or that world is that
Oh,
you
yeah.
can meet Toothless.
You can meet
Oh, I'm
Toothless.
surprised you haven't gone already.
Yeah, you can meet Hiccup. You can meet. They have the white.
Is it the cardboard
No.
cutout from Walmart, or do you think it's nicer than that?
No, it's a very cool puppet mechanical thing. I don't know if it's like remote controlled or what, but it's incredible looking. They have the Light Fury babies, I guess, that come out and meet people, which are also incredibly cute. Plus some of the other I've seen people like run into Astrid just walking around and different things. So
And
yeah.
only a few fatalities from the dragons on the list.
Yeah, exactly. Just a few. You can adopt your own.
Aw.
Very cute. There's a whole ceremony. They bang a drum and everything. All right. Well, does anyone have anything else to add, Geoff?
I have one thing. And this is a silly thing, I apologize. But I do want to shout out to Jay Baruchel. It's hilarious what as the voice of Hiccup, I think he captures, even as an adult, he captured that youthful energy for Hiccup perfectly, not just in this movie, but in every other subsequent movie. It's hilarious what comes to mind when I think of Jay Baruchel. I think of him as Hiccup. I recognize his voice perfectly. He plays himself in the hilarious stoner comedy This Is the End with Seth Rogen and Danny McBride and Jonah Hill as well. And an incredible bit character in the show Letterkenny, shout out to our friends Jacob and Nathan, as Alt-Right Jay, who shows up in this town of Canada where there is a large indigenous population as a alt-right freak, and gets beaten up in the show, and it's very great. So shout out to Jay Baruchel. It's a very diverse portrayal of roles in my mind.
Good job, Jay. All right. Ben, why don't you hit us with your TV recommendations?
Sure. I have two things. One, I can't really attest to because I've never watched it, but I'm just going to put Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon out there.
I was going to say that's what I was thinking of. Yep.
I feel like I couldn't just not include those when the movie's called How to Train Your Dragon. But despite being such a TV person, I did watch one episode of House of the Dragon. I've never watched Game of Thrones, but obviously a very successful show and franchise.
Wasn't too bad for a few years. Wasn't too bad for a few
Yeah.
years.
One of my all-time favorite tweets was the night Game of Thrones ended, and everybody was so mad. All the fans were freaking out, and I saw a tweet that was like, "Oh, did your little dragon show end badly?" um, so there's that. And then the other show I'm going to recommend, because I think we've talked about this before. I think when we did Inside Out, that I have a very hard time recognizing voices in animated movies. I'm just like bad at it. I don't know why, I just like I'll be at the end, I'll be like, oh, that was them, that was them. There was a voice in this movie, this first line that was spoken, I was like, I know who that is, and it was Craig Ferguson. And so I'm going to recommend The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson, which is no longer on, but ran for several years on CBS, and is delightfully weird. And there's tons of YouTube clips. I used to sometimes watch. He was on after Letterman, and back in the day, I would watch it sometimes when I would watch Letterman. I'd sometimes leave it on for him. And at the very beginning, he kind of did like kind of a standard talk show, and then by the time like the of his run, I think did it like 8, 9, 10 years, something like that. But the second half of the run, it got really weird, and he got really weird, and it was really funny sometimes. I mean, it's not for everybody, but that voice is so distinct. And as soon as I heard it on the movie, I was like, "There's Craig," and then I just really enjoyed his show from time to time. It's not something I would watch every single day if it was still on, but it is something that I really enjoyed. And then little bonus thing, he also hosted a game show called The Hustler, which was super fun.
Awesome. Thank you. Geoff, do you have movie recommendations?
I got 3. Number 1, Lilo and Stitch. You should have already seen that movie, because guess what? We did a whole episode on this, so
and you must watch all the ones we
you have to. It's just a must. But again, the director pair behind this movie also did that. Very similar kind of way to get the kids into it with a super cute, cuddly creature, but also really deeper themes beyond that. So, and both of them have gone on to have very successful careers. Dean DeBlois has overseen the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. He's also the director of the live action one, and he's taken that in a nice direction. Then Chris Sanders has done his thing with various creative projects, like I said in the last episode there, The Wild Robot from last year, or The Croods, which is now launched into a couple other movies. So he's doing quite well for himself as well. So got to go back to where they started, Lilo and Stitch. Number 2, dragons. I'm going to give you a newer dragon movie. Raya and the Last Dragon, a Disney movie that kind of came out during the COVID times. I really, really like this movie. I thought for an animated movie, it did combat very, very well. And yes, there's a dragon, like the movie title suggests. And also a movie with a very, very good score and good themes. And a movie I definitely saw. I think we saw it a couple of times in theaters, and I really, really enjoyed it. And then the last one is Vikings. I'm going to give you my favorite Viking movie, and that would be Robert Eggers' The Northman. If you have kids, do not watch this with them. So, unlike this Viking movie, that The Northman is very much an adult Viking movie. It's a play on Hamlet, starring Alexander Skarsgård. It came out just a few years ago, 2022, I believe. Directed by, like I said, Robert Eggers, one of my favorite directors ever, and another one of his masterpieces. The whole plot of the movie is, Amleth, again, Hamlet, coming back to a kingdom to get revenge for the death of his father. I will avenge you, father. I will save you, mother. I will kill you, Fjolnir, is what he says over and over again. And yeah, Vikings and Viking lore. It's super duper sick. So those are my 3 movies.
Thank you. All right, so let's jump into our top 4. Like I forgot to mention at the beginning, but kind of mentioned at the beginning. Today we're doing our top 4 favorite non-Disney animated movies. So yeah, it should be interesting. I'm interested to see what y'all have on your list since we talk about Disney movies quite often, but maybe not the other ones. So Ben, why don't you start us off?
So I suggested this as a top 4 and then got to work on it and I was like, oh, I've not seen many at all. I think I've seen like 5 or 6 total. So this is a very not a comprehensive list by any means. I'm going to give an honorable mention to An American Tail because I don't remember it, but I remember liking it. And is that one of the sequel, the one where Somewhere Out There is from?
I think so. I don't know.
I think that's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
So that's my honorable mention. My number 4 is a movie that I put on in my classroom one time. But usually when I do that, which is not often if my boss is listening. But normally when I do put a movie on, I'm not really watching, I'm doing other things. But I got a little bit into this one, and it was The Lorax, which I love the book. And I thought it expanded that world and that book in a very effective way. I did not watch it straight through because I was doing some other things during it, but what I saw of it, I really enjoyed. My
Some
number
good music
3,
too.
yes.
My gosh, no, not the music, please.
I had very, very tiny side note. I had my ringtone for my alarm for years set to the first song of that movie, where he goes, "Good morning."
Anything
Jeff
you put
hated
as
it.
a ringtone back in the day, like
No, it was
you
just
have
my
bad
alarm to wake up
associations,
in the morning.
with it though, because it's
Oh,
associated with like
that
having to get up.
that was all I heard, and it was
Jeff hated it.
I hated it so much.
I was like, it gets me going in Meadville. It's a brand new day.
My number 3 is How to Train Your Dragon. Because I enjoyed it.
Phew.
Now we don't really need to get into more of that. We just talked about it for a long time. Number 2 is Anastasia, which is the most non-Disney movie of all time. Just love the music to Anastasia. I did see the Broadway show as well, which is quite different actually. But the music is still there, and I think both Once Upon a December and Journey to the Past are just real strong animated movie or music, right up there with, the best Disney songs of all time. Number one is Shrek, which, is a classic. I've not seen Shrek in a really long time. I directed the junior version of the musical a few years ago. But I've not seen the movie in a very, very long time. But I remember seeing it in theaters and loving it, and I've seen it a few times since. It's one I would like to revisit at some point.
It holds up. It holds up. Don't worry.
Maybe sometime we need to do you haven't seen that in a really long time month.
I like that.
Yeah, we can do that. So we have the DVD of How to Train Your Dragon, and so we watched that, and there was like a menu item where you could see other things or whatever, and there was literally an ad for like Shrek the musical because it must have like just became a thing around 2010, and I was like, man, Shrek.
It's got
Shrek
great music.
in the musical. I know, but like his face, I was like, it's like Ben Platt's face in Dear Evan Hansen. You just don't get used to how shocking it is.
Yeah, it was Brian Dorsey James though, who's amazing.
Look, I'm not knocking his performance. I'm just the makeup.
So that's where it
for
stops
Shrek.
the comparison with Ben Platt in the Dear Evan Hansen movie.
The makeup for Shrek is
I know it's outrageous.
I mean, and I'm sure it plays really well if you're watching it on a stage and you're very far away.
Well, and you have to do that. I mean, when I directed it, like, you have to make your Shrek look like that. There's no other. You can't like reinterpret Shrek.
No, I know, but like when you've got a filmed like thing of it and it's right there giant on your TV screen, I'm like, that man looks horrifying.
Yeah. Real tough situation. And at least in the junior version, I don't know if it's maybe you have more time in the full-length version of the musical, but to get Fiona in and out of being an ogre is takes some serious work.
I gotta say, I bet it's a
I
nightmare.
can imagine.
Yeah.
All right, Geoff, why don't you give us your list?
So I struggled with this, not because of lack of options, but because there were a lot of options. I had a very definitive top three, but when it came to the fourth, it was wide open. So my honorable mentions are The Simpsons movie, South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut.
I almost put that on there because I did watch that a long time ago. Believe it or not, it's the only thing I've ever seen of South Park. I've never seen the show.
Did you like it?
I did like it. Yeah,
It was a slight recency bias for me because I only just watched it for the first time last year after we got back from our Broadway trip where we saw the Book of Mormon. And it was like, we gotta actually see this. And Amanda saw it for the first time in a very long time. I had never seen it, and hilarious. Slight recency bias though, so I'm not going to include it in the list. I said The Simpsons movie. Amazing one to follow those up with. The Prince of Egypt, The Mitchells versus the Machines, Flow, again, recency bias, Princess Mononoke, and then two movies that would be in this list normally, would be in my top four if they weren't already part of a franchise where another movie was included in my top four. So I'm going to try to diversify my list here without any sort of like sequels or duplicates. So I want to give a special shout out to Shrek 2, and I want to give a special shout out to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. My number four is How to Train Your Dragon, which, I just did the math, is officially our number 2 movie of the season. It successfully passed Pulp Fiction and is